Released in 2016, Zootopia follows the story of the littlest rabbit overcoming the greatest of hurdles to prove everyone wrong. From directors Brian Howard and Rich Moore, this movie journeys with Judy Hopps, who from a very young age wants to be the first rabbit on the Zootopian police force. Surpassing every obstacle that she encounters, Hopps achieves her only goal to be assigned to a job she doesn't care about, handing out parking tickets. One day a mystery case arrives and Hopps is straight onto solving it, much to the annoyance of her superiors. Judy Hopps is constructed as a very determined and eager character as she is faced with obstacles repeatedly throughout the movie. Driven by a chip on her shoulder developed from her upbringing and societal stereotypes, Hopps can come across as impatient and stubborn, but she only has the best intentions at heart, as can be seen in the chosen scene at the DMV. Nick Wilde, being the fox he is, plays to many of the typical traits stereotyped for his species, including being cunning, sly, and wily. All these traits aside, he is also quite a smart businessman, even though all his profits come under fire for tax evasion. This weakness is what Hopps uses to blackmail Nick and enlist his help, creating a very unhelpful partner in the early stages of the case. Lastly, the final character in the scene, Flash, the sloth and desk attendant. Like the other main characters, Flash is the epitome of his real-life counterpart, living his life impossibly slow. Flash appears unfazed by the pressure Hopps thinks she is ushering, and just her overall daze throughout the scene that there is a sense of intellect to him. This representation takes many references from real-life bank and desk staff, making a comment on how slow people think they work, again, playing on stereotypes. Flash has no real motive that can be seen other than he just wants to do his job and do it slowly. The animation and style throughout the film is a mix between the realism in movement and form typically evident from Disney films, but as it is set in a foreign world, this allows for some more 2D style exaggeration. This is extremely evident in the chosen scene itself, when reflecting on the animation principles. During the scene at the DMV, Judy Hopps' performance is made believable and engaging using several animation principles. The first, and arguably the most important, is squash and stretch, as according to Temi Corrin from the Creative Block, it gives the illusion of gravity, mass, and flexibility. When meeting Flash, she can't contain how much she wants to consolidate her new lead, and so carries over into her performance of her character. Judy's torso and jaw weights shift around through the implementation of squash and stretch to effectively communicate these emotions. Immense frustration is also conveyed in Judy's performance later in the scene when Flash drops what he is doing to tell a joke, and she can't handle the suspense of waiting for him to get back to work, and so smashes her head on the desk. Hopps' movement is also characterized using follow-through and solid drawing. Firstly, her ears act as an extension of her personality, responding just as Judy's face does, while also remaining grounded through tailing her center of massive shifts in weight throughout the scene. This implementation of follow-through in the ears can be seen in many other animation films, such as The Secret Life of Pets, Up, and the classic Bugs Bunny cartoons. Solid drawing affects the performance of Judy through effective posing, ensuring that her shape and form always remains realistic to her character. This is evident continually throughout the scene and is the final element to ensuring that her performance is believable and engaging. Nick's movement throughout the scene is heavily reliant on the principle of arcs, slow in, slow out, and secondary action to convey his sly and foxy nature. Arcs are used in the performance of Nick through his strut and arm movement to display his casualness and control over the entire situation, slowing Hopps' endeavour down as much as he can. Creating this type of mood in a character using arcs is also present in other Disney films such as The Incredibles 1 and 2 for the construction of Frozone. By relaxing his head turns and facial expressions through slow in, slow out, audiences receive an extreme feeling of smugness exuding from the character as he wastes Judy's time. Secondary action is the final principle employed to help round out the performance. This is featured in the animation when Nick is telling Flash a joke, and hand gestures are added to the movement to assist in reinforcing his cool, smug demeanour. Flash's movements are constructed primarily through the implementation of anticipation, exaggeration, and post-pose animation to achieve his performance. The incredibly slow speed at which he moves means that there is a huge sense of anticipation leading into every moment, and this is exaggerated to the maximum. Montgomery argues this succeeds because for every character actions or motion, effective application of anticipation in the animation is key in creating believability in the animation. Post-pose animation is the only possible way this final product could have been achieved, as it hinges on timing and location of every moment. Using these principles in conjunction with each other create the ultimate feeling of intense suspense, which produces comedy for the viewer, thus creating appeal in the character's performance, another animation principle. When looking at characters' performances collectively, staging and timing are huge principles that either help draw the eye or convey relationships throughout the animation. Towards the end of the sequence, Judy and Flash are staged so that they each have 50% of the screen, which creates a stark contrast between the energy and speed of their movement. Contrast is also involved with staging, as Steve Roberts states, the importance of good strong silhouettes to make it completely obvious what is happening to an audience. Timing, however, is used in a similar fashion, but highlights the difference between Nick and Hops, as she moves urgently through everything, whereas Nick moves in a relaxed manner because of his much slower pace. Staging and timing in conjunction with each other help to distinctly separate the three main characters throughout the scene, presenting audiences with a clear understanding of them. Overall, the 12 principles of animation have been used in conjunction together to create an appealing animation performance throughout the scene and the entire movie of Zootopia. By taking careful consideration into which characters rely more heavily on each principle, believable and engaging performances have been produced for audiences to captivate in.